Okay, so in this series of videos, we're going to look at different examples for using CSS to style website content. In this first video, we're going to just look at the general concept of selectors. Okay, so let's move over to this slide on selectors. Okay, so there are basically three broad types of selectors. So we have element types, ID, and then class type selectors. So element selectors are meant to be applied to all of the elements that have the same type of tag. In contrast, class selectors have to be assigned to that specific class, and then ID selectors are only meant to be applied to one object. So in this inline or I guess not inline, it's internal CSS here, so it's inside the style tag. If this P is an element level selector because it's being applied to all P tags. Note that there's no prefix here, doesn't start with a period or a hash. Then this is a class level selector, and all class level selectors start with a period. And then this last one is an ID selector, which is again meant to just be applied to one object, and it starts with a hash. So if we're looking at the actual content here in the page, we have three different paragraphs. The first one here is P tag, and it doesn't have a class or an ID assigned to it. The second one has the pair style class assigned to it, and the last one has this ID assigned to it and the class, which we'll talk about that in a second. So this P tag doesn't have a class or an ID, so it's just taking on this P tag styling. Whenever we have the class takes precedence over the element level style. So now we have this goldenrod color as opposed to the gray color. Now this last one, we have we have a class selector and an ID selector, and it's taking on the ID selector, and that's because ID selectors take precedence over class selectors, especially if they're all defined internally here. Now it could still take some styles, right, from the class. So let's say, for example, we could do something like font weight and set this to bold. So now you can see that both of these got bolded, and that's because the ID selector isn't specifying a font weight, so it's now the class level is taking precedence because it's the only thing that's actually defining that. That's it, right? So again, if we removed here this class, and I'm gonna get rid of this thing, the weight that I added, that actually doesn't end up. Oops, what did I do? Oh, I broke something. Hang on a second. Put in a space there. So that really didn't change anything because the class wasn't really affecting it. But now if I added the class to the second one here, that's going to take precedence over the it'll take precedence over the class, and now that takes on the ID styling as opposed to the class styling. So in short, you basically have three general options for types of selectors. You have element selectors that are meant to be applied to all objects of the same element or tag type, so all P tags, all image tags, all H1 tags, whatever. You also have class selectors that can be applied to multiple elements, and you have to specify it within the opening tag. And then you have ID level, which are meant to be applied to one thing. Again, they have to be defined within the tag.